And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of GMAT Club's YouTube Debriefs. My name is Evan. For those of you who don't know me by that name, most of you should by this point. You probably know me by my forum name, Nightblade354. And for those of you who watch all of these videos, you probably know that I start that every video with that same statement. Well, I do that because people don't know. For example, the person I'm interviewing didn't know who I was. So that's why when you guys message me and say, Evan, stop telling us your forum name that we should know you. No, I'm sorry. This guy watches our videos. He didn't know me. So that's why we do that. We have a really fun video, hopefully, here today. KP is joining us. He has generously given an hour, maybe slightly more of his time to us this morning to talk about his story, his journey from going to a 640 to a 730 on the GMAT, which is indeed a tremendous score. I believe that's in the 98th percentile. So hopefully his story, his journey, his experiences can all benefit you in some capacity. So for those of you who watch it now live, for those of you who watch it in the future, I hope you get as much out of this as you possibly can. With that said, KP, why don't you introduce yourself? Then we can dive into all the fun questions I have lined up for you.
Sure. Thanks, Evan. And I'm very sorry, but I didn't know your name, first of all. Hi, everyone.
Just get harder. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. We'll try our best. So, my name is Padmanabhan KP, and I am from Bangalore, India. I'm 28 years old, and I work at a consulting firm mainly into technology strategy and implementation. About my GMAT story, I've started thinking about an MBA way back in 2020 December. I was not very serious about pursuing an MBA because I was pretty happy with my career goals until then. I was pretty good at my work and I was actually having a great team. But then some things happened, which we'll mostly get into. After that, I started my GMAT journey in 2020. And now, after a year and a half, I'm hopefully heading towards a college this fall. So, yep, that's a small and short intro about me.
That's okay. Short and concise works. By the way, really fast. So we at GMAT Club have multiple people working on these videos. For those of you who say, "Oh, this must be so easy," they're no, it's just two people and they're all doing this. No, we have a lot of people who are working on this thing behind the scenes to get it to this point, and then as we're doing the video. So that's why there may be confusion at times. Which somebody posted, if you have any questions for KP, please post them here. I will say that if you have questions, I would highly recommend you wait until the end because I'm going to post a link which will allow you to come on here live and ask your questions directly to KP. Now, if you can't wait the entirety of the hour and you want to just come back and watch this at a later date, then please post your questions in the comment section, chat box, however you want to find that, and we will get to it at the end. So for any questions posted, we'll get to those at the end, but I highly encourage all of you to sit, to watch the show, and come on live and engage him directly because it's a lot more fun. You get to, maybe as you're speaking with him, something comes up and you get to reword your question or you get to clarify it. You also get to become a little bit famous because thousands of people watch these videos and you get to be somebody who's on these videos with us. So that's why I'm highly recommending you do that. But either way, we will get to your question. With that said, KP, you said you're ready to go. I'm going to throw them at you as fast as you can handle them. And I guess my first question is, what made you decide that you wanted to take the GMAT? Was it because you wanted an MBA? Was it because you were considering grad school and didn't really know where you wanted to go? Or more importantly, was it because you're a Satanist and you thought, you know what? I just want to take this test because I want to punish myself. And we do have those out there, by the way.
I understand. So just to give a brief intro before this to my background. So like I mentioned, I work at consulting and technology consulting basically. And I was pretty happy at my job for the past 7 years I've been working. And I had a side parallel career where I'm a professional musician as well. I do have a band that is actually playing across my country. So when the pandemic started, that's when I thought about the MBA process a bit more into detail because our shows dried up and the ability for us to actually get engaged with our people was actually through the social media. So that's when I realized that social media has a lot to offer, and I could actually bring in my tech skills together to actually do something more towards the musical side of my career. So that's when I thought I probably need to actually pivot to the musical side of my career, and that's when an MBA came into a picture, right? So what was the best way for me to actually get to there? An MBA seemed like the best option because MBA is actually more integrated in tech nowadays. After deciding an MBA was the best this one, so I did a bit of research, and I might have been misled here, but GMAT seemed like the best option to go ahead with an MBA because the colleges I was actually targeting were mainly into GMAT. The funny part was I couldn't see the GRE score being listed in their colleges. That's why I actually took GMAT first. So probably GMAT was the most accessible one. That's why I took up GMAT, and I would have been pretty sure I would have shifted to GRE had I known a bit later, and probably my GMAT score did not actually move towards the target in this one. That's not a belittlement to GRE. GRE is also pretty tough from what I hear, but again, GMAT was the most accessible one initially. That's why I went ahead with it.
A GMAT Club video, and he's advocating for the GRE. This never gets old. All right, so it was more or less just sort of a coincidence. You needed the GMAT because you want to go to business school, and you said, okay, well, they have all the GMATs listed, might as well go for it. Right. Tell me, what was your goal? And what was and by that I mean, what was your score goal? And what was the timetable around it? Were you hoping to get like a 730 in a month? Or were you hoping to get maybe a 710, but it was going to take you 6, 8, 10, 12 months? Well, what was your mindset going into it?
Okay, so I started giving a much more serious introspection into my GMAT a bit later than when I first started. So the timeline was in such a way that I started in 2020 December. I gave a mock then, and always my score target has been 760. It's still the 760 at this point. So, the reason why is because I come from an overrepresented pool, and I needed to actually match my scores to a high level so as to get me my best chances to actually go forward. So 760 was always the target that I thought about it, and I was very far away from it from initial itself. So in December of 2020, I gave a mock and I scored a 640 in that. This was a cold mock, so I did not even know what the GMAT format was. I just actually took a look, read through the internet how GMAT format is, sat for a 3-hour exam after 6 years of not writing any exams whatsoever, and then I scored a 640. So that was my initial preparation. Post that, I had a 2 to 3 month break due to family reasons, and I started again with my serious preparation in March of 2021. And the first thing I thought is probably since I have a 640, I was very unprepared. I look back incredulously how unprepared I was, and I was like, I think I should be able to do it in 2 months. But once you start studying and once you start giving the mocks, as you know how difficult it is, right? So the first attempt was in April end, and the second attempt I gave it in July. So that was the whole process timeline of my GMAT, and I had to do it because I was aiming for round one application, and that started in August September, right? So um, the whole timeline, if I had to stay from starting mocks starting to the end, would have been in 6 to 7 months that I gave myself, but the serious preparation would be a 4 month stretch.
Okay, so I actually want to pull us back a little bit. I want to go back in time. So you gave us a good breakdown of that timeline, nice, clear cut there. So let's start with that very first mock that you took. So you decided you were going to take the GMAT, and you said, okay, I'm going to establish my baseline here.
Right.
What was that mock score?
I had a 640.
Oh, that first mock was a 640?
Yeah, the first mock I took was a 640. I scored a Q48 and a V30.
Okay.
A Q47 and a V31.
Score.
Yeah, I scored a Q47 and a V30, a Q47 and V31.
Okay.
So disclaimer, I was extremely bad at verbal. Back then in 2020 December when I took my verbal, I did not know what a pronoun or a noun, what the parts of speech was basically. I was so bad. So if it gave me a sentence correction to save my life, I couldn't do it. I was that bad with respect to verbal. But still, since I saw a lot of movies and I used to read a lot, I had some sort of basic understanding. So my verbal was pretty bad towards a baseline. But I always had a very common con score. My con baseline was around that 47, 48 region. So that was something that I had as an advantage that going forward helped me to gain the con score I had as well.
Wait, there are parts of speech in English?
Yep, they are.
Ooh, all right. That's something I probably should have learned about maybe over the last 20 something years. I blame my teachers. I don't blame myself. They just didn't do a good enough job. All right. So, so you got that first mock, which was a 640. You said you then began studying, but it wasn't serious.
I did not study for the next 2 months.
You didn't
For
study
means
for 2 whole months.
no, two whole months. I had a lot of work related reasons and things like that. So then I took a break. I took a vacation. Then I came back in March, and I was like, yeah, now it's the time to focus.
Okay.
So I took a mock, and I did not do anything after that.
Okay. So my headphones cut out, but now I understand. So you took the first mock; it was a 640. You then said, "Okay, this is going to be life. Now let's see how busy I'm going to be." And a couple months later, you said, "Okay, let's pick it up again and let's really commit myself to this."
Right.
Um, and again, you had a decent breakdown, so that's. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I mean, life was busy. So before we dive into your study habits, what during those 2 months prohibited you from studying? Was it motivation, or was it just the fact that you were so busy at work that you had an inability to commit enough time to your studies?
It was the latter. So basically, I had some family. My parents were actually moving towns. They were actually moving outside, so I had to help them with it. And then I had a lot of work pressure that actually. So a disclaimer: my work days are like 12 hours generally. So during that period, sometimes we work at consulting, right? Even you would know, it just goes up, goes down. We have a lean period. We don't have a lean period. But I was hoping the lean period would come. I was like, okay, I'll probably take it once the lean period comes. But then I really understood that it's not gonna come. So then I was like, yeah, let's dive it head first into it and find the small amount of time in the morning and the evening. So however it goes, that's when I started on it.
And that's what I want to hear about. So are you a morning person or a night person? And
Uh, I am a
yeah.
very much a night person. Means I had to force myself to wake up early to study. It was
Ooh. Okay, so you were sort of the opposite, where a lot of our students, when they say, "Yeah, no, I'm a morning person. I needed to get up early, so I was doing that," or "I'm a night person, so I would get up, I would work, and then I'd study." You were getting up early, despite the fact that you're not a morning person.
right. Maybe an
How?
hour or two earlier than I usually used to get up. That's the thing. So basically, my clients are based out of US, so I have a bit of overlap towards the night. So what happens is I'm actually more awake and more alert at night. So I used to study after my work does around for an hour or two always. But since that wasn't enough, is what I felt I needed to actually cover a lot more portions. So I was like, let's make an hour or two earlier and then probably do it. So yeah, so means not much of a difference. Means I still woke up at 8:30. That's not a big thing by any means. So yeah,
Ooh, that just doesn't sound appealing, but I like my sleep. So I'm so
very much.
yeah, no, I'm a big sleep guy. So what was that preparation like in the mornings? Were you focused on studying just quant? Because I mean, you were already at a 48, but I know for a lot of students and folks, to clarify for those of you who don't know, KP said at the beginning that he's part of an overrepresented populace or group, and that statement is because Indian applicants tend to comprise a fairly large number of applicants to business schools, and as a result, if you're overrepresented, schools tend to ask more of you in terms of a score, in terms of GPA, work experience, so on and so forth. So that's what he meant by that. But KP, so again, your Q of 48 is a good score, but no, there's no sneezing at that score. Probably lower than what the average Indian student has. So with that in mind, were you studying for quant? Were you studying for verbal, or were you trying to do both? And if so, what was that breakup like?
Okay, so basically after my first mock, I like took a 2 month break. I told you. After that, when I started, I went and analyzed what my mock score breakdown was, and so with respect to quant, I looked up that the score was pretty okay. It wasn't great. It's a 67 percentile. And you definitely need something above 80 is what I had in mind. So 80 is something like 49, 50. 49 is also in the 70 percentiles. So my target was around a 50 for quad, and the delta between what I had and what I was having was actually strengthening whatever I was weak at. That's what I arrived at. So basically, I was not great at geometry, especially coordinate geometry was one of the topics I thought I needed to brush up, and probability was something that I couldn't do around that point as well. So I dissected what are my strong points after my mock. Then I focused on the things that I can improve on. So that was what I didn't want. Verbal was a complete reset. I devoted most of my time to verbal, basically because I hadn't faced any exams, and the reading comprehensions in GMAT requires so much concentration for you to actually concentrate, isolate, and make sure that you answer those questions within that time, right? So I needed to read more. I still didn't do it for the first 2 months, but means I was winging at it for the verbal this one. But my plan was to actually and I was actually doing this on a budget. So the first time I sat, I told myself, okay, let's try for two exams because probably we might not be able to do in the first exam. So let's budget for two exams, and then I looked up all the lowest cost ones which are very effective, and I actually subscribed to Magoosh. Magoosh Premium I subscribed to, and I started looking at the verbal basics, and I went through all of the verbal basics to understand what exactly the part of speech was, how to do sentence correction, how to do critical reasoning, and do a lot of the reading comprehension. So this helped me pull my verbal up a bit, is what I felt, but I did not put concerted efforts into understanding each and every topic. I was just basically, I'll read this, I'll see this, and I'll go ahead with it, and I'll give a mark. That was the initial topic I had. But with quant,
Okay.
I had an understanding.
Gotcha. All right. So, again, I want to back up a little bit. But first,
Mhm.
I want to say, so folks, we have no agenda here. We at GMAT Club have no agenda. We are an open forum. Yes, we have sponsors who pay us money to advertise on there, but we are not beholden to them, nor are we biased in any conflicting way. So, and I meant to say this at the beginning. Shoot, I've been doing this long enough that I feel like it should come off naturally, but I guess I forget. We have zero agenda here. If you want to rip one of the people or one of the groups who you used, rip them. I don't care if they're our best paying sponsor. You can rip them on this show and we'll applaud you for it. If you want to praise one of the groups that you used or one of the programs that you used, we do that too. Because the goal of this is to allow people to actually gain some real information from real people without any conflicting, I guess, overhang, if you will, without any bias attached to it. So, KP, it sounded like you said Magoosh. They are a sponsor, I believe. Did you like them, or it sounds like maybe you didn't like them that much, where they didn't provide you enough verbal structure that you were looking for?
They helped me quite a bit with respect to understanding of my verbal thing. So as in like the lessons were very structured. It's very easily navigatable. So what happened through was like I told you, right, my baseline in verbal was pretty zero. So what I needed was a complete refresher. So Magoosh had quite a bit of an understanding on how to go about it. So it helped me, let's say, if my verbal level was here, it helped me to reach it here. But the GMAT exam tests more than here, right? So basically, that's what I'm saying. As in, like, Magoosh was very helpful in me to actually brush up my basics, solidify my basics. From there, it's more of a practice thing. So that's where I felt I needed more resources. I had exhausted my Magoosh resources, and then that's when I wanted to go ahead. So Magoosh was pretty helpful. I should say they were bang for the buck they were actually giving me. So they were pretty good from a level to actually make me understand how my verbal was. And yeah, so I would really be thankful to them. I did
Okay.
send them a mail after my 7:30 came across.
And before we push into what other resources you used
Right.
and which specific website you used, I'll give you all a hint. It's the reason why you're all here watching our YouTube video right now. I want to go back just a little bit because I want to hit on this. When you were taking that break, and I also want to hear how many questions you were practicing per day once you start taking things seriously, and we can build into that about how you improved quant, how you improved verbal, and all that stuff. So folks who want those questions answered, I will get to them. Talk to me about that 2-month break. How were you able to continue to keep in the back of your mind, yeah, I got 740 and I'm going to study for this at some point. I'm really going to, put the hammer to the metal here and make sure that I study. How are you doing that with work bearing down on you and with all of other life's complications?
Right. So to be honest, I was very clueless about the whole applications process. That was one thing that I was actually thinking about. So I did not take it that seriously. I was like, I'll get to it once I'm actually done with these things. Then I realized that it won't be done if I actually just keep on pushing it. So I have to get it to it. Means I have to dip my toe into the water anyway. So that's when I realized. So I had a small break. I went to a different place, and then I was like, yeah, I'm pretty refreshed. I took a break, I took a leave. Then I'm like, yeah, let's focus on it now. Means even if work is there or not, now is the time for me to actually focus and make sure that I go ahead with it. So even if work was there or not, I just decided to go ahead with it, because then I looked up the applications process and I got to know that September is the deadline for the first rounds, and I wanted to go for the first round. So time was bearing down on me, so I had to bear down on myself as well.
Okay, so it was, I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to do it no matter what. Oh, no. I didn't realize how close this deadline was. Okay, time to actually put up and not shut up. So, okay, good to know. So you made that decision. It clicked. Like, okay, I need to move and I need to do this now. I need to get moving here if I want to apply R1. How many questions were you doing per day to help improve your quant verbal? You said you focused a lot on verbal. What was that initial breakdown of questions once you started taking things seriously?
Right. So for quant, what I did was I actually did it I just used Magoosh initially. I did not go for any other website. So that's how I exhausted this one. So I would stick by a topic. I'll do a few questions. Let's say 10 questions per hour I would do, and I'll do like 3 hours per day. And
oh wow, okay.
Out of so 30 questions on a daily basis, I used to try. But most of my efforts was focused on getting my basics set. For example, let's say permutations, I needed to go through those lessons. So initially, since I needed to go through the first 20, 25 days where questions were less, I probably would do like 5 to 10 a day. Focus on the learning parts of it, write down what I actually learned, especially in verbal, and go to the topics in quant that I was not sure of. So probability, coordinate geometry, like I mentioned, right? So if you see my Magoosh, this one, lot of my math would be just not ticked. Means if you complete it, it comes as a tick. But a few topics will be ticked, but my verbal is like tick, 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 everything. As in, like I had to go through the whole thing. So I gave myself time in such a way that, so initially itself I started, I picked the date and I put that exam there so that I have a target to work towards, right? So I was like, I have 1 month, 20 days. So I'll give myself 25 days to study it completely. From then onwards, I'll start doing mocks. Then what I used to do was I used to do sectional mocks, as in like on a Saturday I'll just do a section, as in like quant alone or else verbal alone, and then that is like 31 questions or 37 questions, right? So on a weekly basis, let's say I would do 100 questions totally. That's the first 20 days of it. Then I ramped up. Magoosh had around 800 questions, so I completed the whole lot of them. So the last few stretches of it, I would do at least like 20 questions per hour. That's like 60 questions per day I would do. And I would redo the whole thing as well. What I got wrong as well, I'll just go back again.
So, okay. So, yep. So that is a lot of questions. Were you doing the Magoosh verbal as well as the Magoosh quant, or just Magoosh quant? Okay.
Both. I was doing both.
And let me ask, what was your experience with the Magoosh verbal?
The questions were different from GMAT Club. I think that's what I would say. As in, like, it's a bit more difficult than not GMAT Club, sorry, than the original GMAT mock exams. It's a bit higher level. It's differently structured, is what I would feel. The reading comprehensions were pretty difficult. Means it took me a long while to actually read through, and probably that's the dustness I had as well. I would say it's not close to how GMAT would be. That's what I would say. But again, it gave me a very good expectation of how to go with it. It prepared me for a bit more worse, but I did not prepare for the worst. That's what the my.
So you hit on exactly what I was hoping you were going to say, which was the verbal wasn't that similar to the GMAT. And folks, this is a lesson that you need to bring with you across your entire GMAT studies. Outside of the official guide questions, so official GMAT, and then LSAT, and obviously official GRE questions if you can find them. Do not go away from official sources for verbal, because you're never going to get something that's as good, as high quality, or even remotely similar. It's going to give you bad habits. It's going to make you think in ways that you shouldn't be thinking. And then on the test, when you're sitting there and saying, wait, these two answers are both right because I was taught these two things, it's going to come back and bite you, and we don't want that. So for verbal, as KP just said, you're going to run into questions that aren't really similar. Stick to official sources. And good news, GMAT Club has literally thousands of them for free. So I implore every single one of you to go there and check them out. And by the way, again, we're not, for those of you wondering what GMAT Club is, it's just an open source forum. That's all. We're a forum. You join for free. All the questions are free. Everything's free. Just go there and study. That's all we want. We want you to do well. And then maybe come on here and do a video. So that way we can make everybody smile every now and again. But excellent. So you hit on exactly what I want to hear. I want to hear also about how you were reviewing, because I'm a huge advocate of blind review. I don't know if you know what that is.
I'll tell you my review process, then you can actually fill me in on
please,
how
by all
blind review
means.
works. Yep. So I did not review initially. I did not review for a long while. As in, like, I used to do a bunch of questions, hit a target, and then review the wrong ones. Then I used to see whether I get it right again. And newsflash, I got a lot of them wrong again. Because my recollection was actually pretty long ago. As in, like, I would, for the first 20 days, how many other questions I did not redo them after the 20 days. As in, like, so I had at least like a minimum 10-15 day period where I did not review them, so that my memory was actually out of the situation where I actually initially attempted it.
Good.
So that's my initial review process. So is that how the blind review works?
Sort of. And folks, so I've talked about blind review a couple of times. I can go over it again here because I think it is worth repeating multiple times, and hopefully students can see it. Blind review is where you take, let's say 10 questions. It can be any number. You take your questions, you do them you do them timed. So you take your questions, you do them timed. You then set them aside. You do something else. You forget about them entirely. You forget about the question. You come back to it untimed. You, again, not remembering your previous answers. And you go through them again without that time constraint. And then then at that point, you check if the answers are right across both sets of times that you took it. And that's called blind reviewing. What you're seeing is, okay, do I get it right when I'm sort of relaxed and not under pressure, and I get it wrong under pressure? Do I get it wrong both times, meaning I didn't have a clear understanding of it? Or did I get it right both times, meaning I've got this locked down? And the reason I want to hammer this is because reviewing is the single most important thing you can do on the GMAT. Learning your fundamentals, I'll call 1B as being like the most important thing. 1A is knowing that you need to review every question. You need to know why each answer is right, why each answer choice is wrong, and you need to be able to basically stay that in your sleep. Because if you can't do that, you're wasting the question. And again, there are limited resources here. So please, for the love of everything that's good and holy in this world, know your fundamentals, know how to review. Do those two things, and your score should go up. But KP, I want to get back to you, buddy. Mm-hmm. So you said you were taking, again, 30 questions a day. I mean, that takes a toll on somebody, especially after a couple of months. So I assume, and again, so let me ask, how are you measuring your progress? So again, from a 640 to a 730, that's 90 points if my math is correct. That I probably should know that. And I think I'm right here. So that's 90 points. How were you measuring your progress, and how were you, let's start there. How were you measuring your progress?
Okay, so initially, once the first 20-25 days that I was done with my basics of verbal as well as the points that a week was, I started taking mocks a bit more seriously. So I signed up for free mocks everywhere, and I did Magoosh's. Magoosh has a lot of mocks in this one. So I did Kaplan, I did Vericus, I did Manhattan. So I did not know how tough they were. I just went and took it because they were available. They were free for this one. And you had 2 marks, right? So 2 marks from MBA. When you sign up for GMAT, MBA.com, you get this one. So the first one I had taken for my cold mark, right? So the second one was available. I was thinking I'll just do it on the day before the exam. I'll do it on the day before the exam so that I was the most, not the day before, as in like the last mark I would take before. Okay. I'll take the last mark before I do the exam. But I never took it.
Okay.
I never took it until my second try. So I kept on doing this, and my scores were very much like a 620, 630. The highest I went was 670 in the first time I gave. Before the first time I gave, the highest I went ever was 670, and my quant was always around that 48 point, and I wasn't seeming to be improving. My verbal, the maximum it went to around was 34. So we'll come to my first attempt, but building up to my first attempt, my mark scores were consistently in the mid 600s.
Okay.
So before I went to the first attempt, I was pretty sure that I'm not gonna get 700 or anywhere near 760. So I set means, and you can cancel the score, right? So I set myself a target saying that anything above 650 at this point is pretty good, and whatever we are gonna do after this is gonna be towards that 700 score. So marks were my way to actually see this one, and I used to keep a log of all my quant scores and my verbal scores just to see if there was a progression among them. And they were very haphazard. It was going up and down. It was like a sine wave, most probably. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Okay.
So this was in the last 20 days before my first attempt. So I had no way to actually see if I was progressing, and I would say that was because my preparation was extremely haphazard. I just went with the flow of doing marks. I did not actually check progress in a very different way, which I did for my second attempt, which will come to. So my preparation for the first, this one was completely haphazard. I means I just went with the flow of what I thought would be doing. It wasn't structured. I just did some questions on a daily basis. I attempted some mocks. I just brushed up my topics. So that's where I was with respect to my first attempt and my progress measuring, and it was all over the place, I would say.
Okay. So you said it was haphazard.
Yeah.
What then changes? Was it the introduction of the lovely magical world of GMAT Club? Was it some epiphany? What finally clicked in your mind to say, okay, this is what I need to do to get more consistent? These are the resources I need to get that done.
Right. So the wake up bell came in the start of my first GMAT attempt, which was a 640 again. My cold GMAT attempt 5 months ago was a 640. My first GMAT attempt was a 640. And my verbal and quant scores were very similar. I got a Q48 and a V30 again. Exactly what
Identical.
I got.
Okay.
Very identical. And but it was very diagnostic in nature. I am very happy that I gave that attempt. It made me understand that I needed to put a bit more effort into tackling the questions in a very different way. I needed to analyze it a bit more. And I think the best quality I always had throughout my preparation was that I never actually got discouraged too much with respect to my mock scores. I was very analytical in nature that if I spent 3 hours on a mock, I would spend 5 hours reviewing it. So
Okay.
means my Saturdays used to be completely set up for mocks, reviewable. As in, like I just used to review it, what went wrong here, what was my mindset when I was tackling this question. So I use my mocks as a very diagnostic in nature. That's what I used to go about it.
Which is the way you need to do it.
Right.
Mocks. Somebody in the general chat actually asked this morning. I responded 5 hours later because I think they were in India. So I apologize to that person for me responding so late, but they had exhausted, I want to say like 30 something mocks. And you shouldn't do that unless you're studying for over a year. And even then, you probably shouldn't even be doing that. Mocks are a way to test yourself and to build your endurance. It's not to help you study. That's not a study habit. But sorry, please continue.
Yeah, so the wake up bell came in the form of a 640 because I think we can go ahead with the test experience a bit later. But again, when the 640 came, I was like, at least I wanted a 650, so I canceled that score. I was like, I'm not taking this score because I had a 10-point higher threshold. And I realized that I had to tackle it differently. I had to be more structured. I had to understand what was exactly this one. So I knew about GMAT Club there. I knew GMAT Club was there, but I never knew the features of it. That opened a world of possibilities towards me. So what is it?
Hallelujah. We need sound effects on this thing. We need to be able to use those songs and add some graphics in here to really send up the flares, fireworks. We got to jazz this up. Somebody remind me that we need to upgrade. But anyways, please continue.
Yeah. So the amount of resources available in GMAT Club, especially, were eye-opening, I would say. The difference between my second and the first attempt. First attempt, I did not do an error log. First attempt, I did not know how an exam is structured. I did not know how the scoring was happening for the GMAT Club, for the GMAT exam. I did not know the importance of certain questions. I did not know there were actually test questions. There were questions that they did not mark. Anyway, you can't guess that, but still, I went in blind with respect to not understanding how the GMAT is, and the GMAT is a beast. You need to systemically break it down, analyze, and make sure that you're actually tackling it in that way. A structure was the first change that happened. The resources to structure it was the second change that happened between my first and the second try. And effectively utilizing my time in a very different way was the difference between my first and the second try that helped me have that 90-point jump.
How so? Can you elaborate on that? And apparently, our users feel that I'm very energetic. I
He
don't know
is
where
very
they get
much.
that idea from. Do you?
I can see it. I'm actually feeding off your energy.
Oh no, that's not good. I'm doing this without coffee, guys. Come on. But please continue.
Right. So after my first attempt, again, I knew I had to go back a bit more towards verbal basics. But my verbal basics extremely were thanks to GMAT Ninja, the god and savior of every one of us.
Charles
I found
is
Charles's
Charles
videos
is
much later. Yeah,
unbelievable.
Charles is unbelievable. I found his videos very late into my first attempt, so I was like, I probably don't have time to go through this, and I can't kick out whatever I've learned till this point. I'll probably do it for the second one. So Charles gave me a whole new approach into my sentence correction, completely new approach into my sentence correction. Reading comprehension, the GMAT Club Buster series, the Buster series that was happening. I started doing three reading comprehensions on a daily basis, minimum without fail.
Okay.
Every day I used to do three. So the Butler series, the Butler series has per day they used to give two. I started the 2020 series. I finished it till September. Every day I finished it till September. What that did for me from a reading comprehension point of view was that I was able to sit through, I was able to analyze, I was able to do a bit more of understanding on how these questions are marked and all those things. And the best thing about it is it covers a wide variety of topics. And trust me, GMAT throws you the most uninteresting, the most boring topics sometimes, and you will be like over to your sleep and you still have to answer them, right?
I would argue the
So-
LSAT tops them in that respect, but
Yeah,
please
means
continue.
I would love to read a reading comprehension about football and answer it, but sometimes I get science-based topics, which I love as well, but sometimes molecular biology and things. So what the Butler series prepared me for was a wide variety of topics that I could sit through and read. Again, the biggest change that happened was the error log. So
Ooh.
I after my first attempt, I went through previous experiences of people who have actually increased their scores, see what worked for them. I tried a bit of them and I actually tried to see whether that will work for me. The error log was the top most priority of them. So I restructured my way. So again, my quant was pretty straightforward again. What I figured for my quant was that I needed to do more questions. But for quant, my 51 score happened because of the devil that lies in the details. So I'll get to that one. But again, I started doing questions in a very different way from my first attempt. And this is where I talked to Scott from Target Test Prep. So he had mentioned the streak series. So what I did was I took the topic, and I think GMAT Club has the variety of topics. Every topic you have at least thousands of questions. So what I did was I took a topic, let's say it's permutations. I did it untimed from a level base, as in like I started with 600. I used to do 15 questions completely in a streak. Let's say I used to do one question, two questions. If I got the third wrong, I'll set back to one again. Until I got 15 right, I do it untimed for the 600 level questions. Then 600 again, I do it timed until I get 15 right. I start from 500, 500, then go to 600, then go to 700. And 700s are mostly difficult. And with the time paucity that you have, right? Sometimes I used to reduce it. I can't do 15. I probably used to do 10 or 8. So depending upon this one and depending upon the topic as well, I was good at algebra, I was good at arithmetic. So basically, I would decrease it a bit less so that I actually keep myself fresh for the next attempt. That was the first method of this one I did, and the error log method was very useful. So what I used to do is I read an article on GMAT Club that said that probably do it in such a way that you are dividing your week in such a way that you are giving more time for yourself for review. So what I did was Monday to Thursday I would do questions. Okay. Friday, Saturday, I would review everything I went through, the correct ones as the wrong ones. And on the review, I redo the wrong ones. I look through what went right for me in the correct ones. So redoing the wrong ones, sometimes I used to get them wrong again. But what change that happened was that after I realized that there's no way for me to actually see how I'm doing, I started using the notes. So in the notes, after I get it wrong for the first time, I would write, this is what I thought was the way that I should attempt it. The next time I do it, if I got it right, I'll just go back and check the notes on what my thought process was back then and what my thought process is right now. And I'd write that down. If I got it wrong again, I'd write that down. And I plan to review this 10 days before my exam on completely on the review part of it. So I was more structured, more methodical, and the error log helped me loads. So some things I used to find out was in quant, I used to actually get a bit of topic based coverage. So I used to understand new topics and new theorems. So I used to write them as flashcards, and I would review all the flashcards, write them personally on notes, and then review it before the exam. So and another thing that I used to do was every question I used to go through the discussion forums that were there. The discussion forums were very helpful. I used to read through them completely, sit through them, and see the expert opinions. I used to see what people were saying. I used to see. So that was how my quant increased. Again, with respect to getting a quant 51, like I mentioned, right, devil lies in the details. Do we want to discuss this later, or should I go ahead?
We can go ahead. I'm surprised you didn't mention Brunel by name.
Yeah, Brunel, BB, all of them.
Everybody mentions Brunel by name, and you were the first person who said, yeah, I went through math. Yeah, I saw this great improvement. Who was this expert you were learning from?
Definitely. Brunel, every single question, I used to look for his answers because that's a dead short answer, right? So I used to go with whatever they used to say, and the discussions were pretty important as well because they give you a wide variety of views. But you need to be able to distill them, and that's where the expert opinion comes in, right? So of course, a lot of people. Scott was also pretty helpful in the expert discussions. Of course, Charles was very helpful.
So our students tend to view TAR test prep as one of the better quant prepping courses. It sounds like Scott, although maybe you didn't practice with TAR test prep, he did help you in a way that seems almost invaluable.
Very much. That's the best thing about the GMAT community, right? Even though you're not subscribing to their products, they'll be very much ready for you to. So basically, I reached out to Scott after my first attempt. He showed me what I can do for verbal improvement. I was not a target TTP user. He still actually took time to actually review my scores, go through my post, and do it. So a lot of people, especially a lot of the GMAT moderators and previous experienced people, they're all very helpful. It's a concerted effort. That's not a personal victory alone, right? So as in like you go through this, you have people help you, people actually give you inputs. That's the best thing about the GMAT one. That's what I'm tending to do nowadays as well by giving back to the community as well.
And we appreciate that. We're going to I want to hear about that in a little bit. But you know what? No, you learn from all these experts. You didn't even know my name. You didn't even know the expert who's here in front of you. He used every expert.
Even I'm very sorry about that. You should throw me tougher questions.
But anyways, so tell us about. Again, my expertise were more critical reasoning and reading comp than anything else. But nonetheless, tell us. Let's dive back into your quant and how you sort of went to those details of going from that 48 to. Again, I didn't. What would you end up for an official quant score? Was it a 50 or 51?
51.
Okay. And by the way, please don't be offended by that. For everyone watching, and again, if you are a fan, you should know that I don't read debriefs ever. Why? Because like a bunch of you, I'm going to be lazy and not read it. But I'm doing that because of you, not because I am lazy. Because I know all of you aren't going to read it. Therefore, I want to come into this completely dumb and completely devoid of any knowledge. So that way, when we do get into this, I can ask questions that you would be asking. So that way, I don't assume anything. So just to be aware, I didn't want you to be mad or upset there that I didn't know that.
Right.
So yeah, please give us the details.
Okay. On the 51, the difference between a 51 and a 49, I would say, is the minor details. Means as in like you might be 2, 3, 4 questions wrong, and those 4 questions might not be because you've not studied. It might be because you missed very tiny details. The GMAT is very good at obfuscating very good info right in front of you. It might be there, but you might not see it. That was the biggest thing. For example, the number systems. You have to know whether 0 is considered as positive or not. You have to know whether the root of an even number is considered positive in GMAT or not. So these are the small details that we miss that actually makes a difference for me between a 49 and a 51. A person who gets a 49 is just 2 or 3 questions away from a 51 is what I would say. Yeah, the difference is very, very little. That's so little. So the devil is to actually focus on the small details that actually read through these questions. You have to make sure that you're reading through these questions, jotting down these points that I did. For example, the way I used to do it was, if there was a mention of zero, I used to be like zero. Okay, zero is positive. Means, so that make sure that my brain actually connects with it that way. That's what I felt was a difference between my first and my second try. I was more attentive. I was more understanding of what each topic meant, and I was more. Uh, I focused a bit more on the specifics of it, so that I did not get these things wrong. That was a difference, and my quant level, like was actually at a good base at that point. So these propelled me towards a much better score, is what I would say.
Perfect.
And the streak method works wonders. Basically, that actually gets you a lot of right questions one by one by one. That's actually very important in the GMAT. You need to get questions in block in GMAT. The scoring mechanism actually awards you for that, right? So as in, like, if you get things right continuously, that actually, and you have to space out your mistakes. It's impossible for us to know it right that way, but the streak method trains you in such a way that you actually make sure you're getting your questions right in this one. So that's how my quant difference was, because of the streak method, the error log, as well as focusing on the details.
That was a very good summation. What I want to focus on now is, so again, you figured out your study methods. You figured out a process that works. Now that you were taking it more seriously, now that you were really hitting your stride, it sounds like, were you then taking mocks that suddenly showed a progression moving up?
Yeah.
And if so, when was it that finally triggered in your mind? Okay, I'm finally around here. No, I want here. So screw it. We're going full force here. We're gonna go for it.
Right. So I did not, the second time I did not actually schedule an exam. I scheduled the exam a month before. So my April end was my first exam. I was like, I'll give myself some time to actually figure when I want to go. But I was sure it should be around the July, August time, because again, September is round one. And depending on that, whether I choose for round one is my strategy that I had. So I did not book the exam. I booked the exam right 1 month before. So what I was thinking was, I'll subscribe to even more resources. GMAT Club tests were the first resources. There are 30 quant tests and around 19 to 24 verbal tests, and they are hard.
So hang on. I do want to say, again, for anyone who questions out, my biases or me being neutral, do not use our verbal mock tests. You want to use our quant mock tests? Awesome. Bunel's written them. They are flawless. They are hard as can be. In fact, they're harder than the GMAT by a pretty substantial margin. If you can get a 51 on those, you're going to get 51 easily. Our verbal sucks, because even we at GMAT Club cannot write questions to the level that the GMAT test takers can, or test writers can. Stay away from our verbal. Use our quant. Stay away from our verbal. But please continue.
So yeah, the quant actually helped quite a bit. I did not complete the verbal. I completed the quant completely. And what's the best part? Your scores were all over the place. I used to get a 51. I used to get a 50. The next day I used to go to 38. The next day I used to go to 42. Then I used to go to 46. So I took a test every day. Towards the end of my stretch,
Jesus, okay.
A test every single day. I had to exhaust the whole thing. I took a test every single day. Like I mentioned, I never took the scores to my mind. Sometimes I used to get a 42, and I would be like, I just need to analyze this. The 42 would not be on my mind. I need to analyze this. I need to know where I went wrong. I need to analyze how the scoring pattern works, or else I need to analyze whatever I need to. So everything was diagnostic. To the level that a week before I wrote my 730, I got a 640. And still I went ahead. So means
okay.
And that was because I wrote Manhattan. So Manhattan is the toughest baddie that's out there. So I subscribed to Manhattan as well, the fighter series that was there. So
those aren't bad backup tests, by the way. If you run out of OG, take those. Those would be my recommendation. And by the way, for those of you mentioned our grading scale, and even our algorithm, guys, is not what MBA.com's what the actual GMAT is. So you have to take our results with a grain of salt. To your point, you saw your thing fluctuate and you got 51, but you got a 30. What was that? 36? You said, or 38?
On verbal, I got a 37.
Oh, okay, I thought you were talking about quant. My apologies. I was about to say like
No,
that.
no, no. Means on quant I got a 38 as well. Yes, I had a
Okay,
38. I
so
had a 42. You can count all the numbers from 38 up.
so there we go. So folks, even we are not infallible. So do not freak out if you take one of our tests or even a couple of them and your score goes up and down like a ship in the middle of a storm. If you are confident you're answering most of those questions, know that you're probably going to do well. But sorry to interrupt.
Right.
Please continue.
So again, I use them all as diagnostic. So what I used to do is I used to actually go through the tests, see what the questions were, see their answers, again, expert opinion, make sure that my thought process. So I was actually focusing on my thought process rather than my answers. That was the important thing that I was focusing on, whether my thought process was matching how it's supposed to be, or else where I was different. And that's what I critically valued towards the end of this one. And I subscribed to Manhattan. I did Magoosh tests again. I did not complete the Magoosh test, so I did the Magoosh test. I did Manhattan. I think I did the OG second one as well. So the last test I took before my 730 attempt, I had got a 730 itself, and that was the OG.
There we go.
That's when I realized progress is there. Because okay, when I started in May, it was around the 650 second. Then I started growing up 670, 690, 700. So I was actually constantly in the 700, 710 range 10 days before my exam. A 640 dipped. I did not take it to heart. I went again and gave an exam. I got a 730. And then on the original exam, I got a 730 as well. So that's how I measured my progress, like you asked earlier, right? So that's how my progress was mainly for the second test of it. But again, everything was diagnostic. That was the main thing. And what is the best thing about it was, like you mentioned, GMAT Club has every question, mostly every question under the sun. I used
Yes,
to
we
write the
do.
Manhattan question. I used to actually copy the Manhattan questions, go to GMAT Club or go to Google, figure it, GMAT Club would have it. The answers would be there. People would be actually giving us this one. So again, the thought process was what I focused on. And I think that's what gave me my score a bit more better. I did not get stuck up on the scores because I knew I watched soccer a lot. And there's a saying in soccer that all you need is at 90 minutes, all you need is at 1 day. So I bet on my preparation. I bet on that 1 day. Sometimes you might actually go up and down, but just focus on your efforts and make sure that you're not place undue importance. I would be amiss if I said that that did not affect me. Getting a 670 or 640 did affect me. But again, I figured you have to go ahead, full steam ahead. That's the way. Means as in like it might be an aberration. Just check it out.
There's a saying in American football. So I just want to specify this is American football. You said soccer. I'm actually surprised you said soccer and not football. There's a saying in American football. It's played on Sundays, and the saying is any given Sunday, because upsets happen every single weekend where somebody either outperforms or somebody really underperforms, and it just happens. Any given Sunday, guys. That's all you need to do to do well in your exam if you have the capabilities to get your score. But KP, let me ask, how were you able to push through that sort of feeling of, I know it may be an aberration, but how were you able to sort of tamp down that feeling of that creeping anxiety of, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I just can't get it right. And maybe this is going to be what happens.
I don't know. I had an internal feeling that I was doing well because I had a belief that my preparation was going a bit more right. And to be honest, I did not think my second attempt would be my final attempt. Means I was ready for another attempt. So basically, in June first week, I decided I'll give it in July first week, and if that doesn't go well, I'll give it in August mid or August last, so that I had an attempt for this one. So, but again, I hoped I would finish in the second attempt. So I had spaced it out in such a way that I knew I would improve on 640. I means I knew it would come across as an improvement because I was showing that improvement, and I had an internal belief that there was something that was going right this time around, even though the scores were not, because like I told you, right, the 640 came in between 700s.
Okay.
As in, like, I had a 710 before that, I had a 730 after my 640, and I was consistently scoring in the 690s to 700s. So I had, means you understand, once you keep on giving these marks, your level is increasing. So initially, if my level was 640, I had pushed it to around 680 plus. So that was the understanding I had. So I just kept on going that way. The anxiety would be there. I threw up 10 minutes before my exam. So much for my anxiety. It means before my second exam, I threw up 10 minutes before. I was like, yep, let's go and give it a hit. So I throw up when I get anxiety. That's the general deal how I would deal with.
Okay, so I was going to ask how your exam day went, and I was expecting you to say, yeah, it went well. I got up. I ate my breakfast. I ate lunch. I was ready to go for my test. I banged it out. Everything went well. You threw up 10 minutes before the exam.
I did.
All right. Okay.
So,
now we have to talk about exam day. What on earth happened, and how were you able to recover to get to a score that you were semi practicing near, but I mean was kind of a stretch? What the heck happened?
So I'll go with my first exam first of all. There are lots of intangibles with GMAT that you can't control. There is, for example, in my first attempt, there is a lot of external things that actually mattered. So my center was not a great center by any means. There were consistent power outages. That was the first thing. So that actually threw me off. The AC was right in my face. The center had monitors ranging from 14 inches to 24 inches. And I got the shortest stick of it. I got the 14 one and I had forgotten my some way I forgot my glasses, but I did not need glasses back then properly. So there were a lot of intangibles that were not great for my first, but I made an effort to do it the second time much more easy. So I actually went to the invigilator. I made friends with him. I told him I'll be back for the second attempt. And for the second attempt, I went an hour early. I started talking to him. Do you remember me and all those things I asked? I told him, can you give me a bigger monitor? He agreed to that. I had my jacket and everything. So I was prepared that way. And a 3 hour exam takes much toll on you. So energy bars, Gatorade, all those things I had. So make sure that you time it. The 8 minute break that you get, I used to actually quickly do. I did not want. I never missed the break timing. So all those things I had focused. I had an exam plan that I went for the second day with. But again, once you go there, sometimes the anxiety does hit you. So again, one thing I always say, even before my MBA interviews, I had my anxiety. I threw up, and they went well. So it's an indication for me that if I throw up, it's gonna go well somewhere. That's how I feel at this point. So I just was like, anybody here, let's go and do it.
I'm just picturing you on your wedding day. Where's the groom? Oh, don't worry, he's in the bathroom throwing up. But don't worry, that's a good sign. It means the marriage is gonna last forever. Don't you worry. Till that's do them part. That's just him. That's him confirming it. Hey, but you know what? You have to do you. I mean, if that's your body's reaction, so be it. But okay, so you prepared. There's an old Boy Scout saying, "Be prepared."
Right.
You were prepared. You had the glasses. You got a bigger screen. You had a jacket, so that way you didn't freeze when the air conditioning was blowing on you. You were there to exceed your goals and/or take the exam, and you did.
Right. I was much better prepared with respect to the exam preparation point of view. So like I told you, right? So that matters a lot. It's the day matters on how much you can control it as well, and there's not a lot of you can control. So that's how I did what I could do with respect to the exam preparations. I think that helped.
All right. So KP, you wanted to talk about timing. See, folks, we take requests. We're like disc jockeys. We're DJs. Now we take requests. You want to play that song? Yeah, sure. Let's play that song. And we do so in the form of questions. KP wanted to talk about, I guess it wasn't a mistake necessarily, but sort of the timing of taking the final exam and then needing to apply to schools in a month. So what was that process like in terms of compiling everything and getting them out the door in time? And what would you recommend to our viewers and users here who are going to watch us, who are watching this and saying, you know what, maybe I can do this, and maybe you can dissuade them from having that mindset?
I've talked to a lot of MBA aspirants. A lot of them get their things done very early. Let's say I know people who got their GMAT written in December and waited for 8 months for them to do one. And there are people like me who took it a month before my my first application was about to go. Nobody tells you how much these things take a toll on you. I mean, I was done after applying to my third school. So that was an 8 month complete process. So you need to give yourself ample time, whatever round you're approaching for. I would say at least 2 months before that you need to give, because the application process takes a lot of effort. It takes the SOPs take a lot of effort. So you need to have your GMAT knocked out of the way before, so that you have the mental space and the mental ability to do it. Like I told you, I had planned for the third one, but I can't imagine what I would have gone through if I had to take a third one. That would have been a difficult process altogether. I took my GMAT, so I got a 730, a Q50 on B37. So if I have to talk about the GMAT, this one, my quant was a breeze. I finished everything 10 minutes to go. I don't know how that happened, but it happened.
That's called being prepared.
Yeah, but my verbal was a disaster. So my verbal, I'd focus so much that I lost track of the time. I looked at the time; it was 8 minutes, 10 minutes I had, and I need questions. So I
Yeah.
had a reading comprehension. I gave that up completely. I did not read through. I just actually randomly answered so that this one was there. So because and also the order also matters. Okay, so basically the first exam I had gone with a Q, a V, an IR, and an AWA. This time I switched it to a V, a Q, and IR because I felt that I needed my brain space much for verbal, but that's where I'm going wrong. So
You turns out
that's
you were
one more
right.
thing. Yeah, very much. So that's one more thing. So basically, what I did was I gave it up, and I was sure I had messed it up again, but I did not let it get to my quant. That was my preparation as well. So I took my ESR after my this one. I was on course to score really well. For the first 22 questions of my verbal, I had only made two wrong. I had made eight wrong completely in my verbal, and six of them came across in the last this one because of my timing wasn't right. So the timing strategies are very important, especially within the exam as well as for the whole process. So ideally, I would suggest you to get your GMAT as quickly as possible. Now we are in May. Again, for the people who are applying to August, to the August September cycle, at least give yourself starting from July. Make sure that you actually have your this one sorted. So it'll be much better to get your GMAT on course from now onwards till the end of June. So that you have a lot of mind space because a lot of people don't agree with me, but I think the GMAT was the easier part of my applications process.
Oh yeah, no, I'll disagree with you on that. I am one of those who will absolutely disagree with you on that.
The amount of efforts I put through on my applications, especially on my essays, were much mind space taking than a GMAT because GMAT has a tangible factor. The applications factor don't, as in like the essays, you don't know what's gonna work, so you have to go through the whole the shebang of it. So that's what I felt. The GMAT was the easier part of it.
No, you
I know a lot of
psycho.
people are gonna give me stick for that.
You lunatic. No, I can't get behind you. That and some people do say that. But usually they and to your point, they say it after they've already applied and gone into schools. They say, "Oh yeah, no, looking back, yeah, no, the waiting was the
Looking back,
worst part. The waiting to hear back, the application, no, it wasn't. Bite me. Go back to the time you were studying, rose-colored glasses. That was a miserable time, and you know it. Everybody knows it. Everybody hates studying for the stupid test. Myself included, mind you. So everyone hates it. But so I actually do want to add on one thing to your timing point. The GMAT will, in any standardized test, will crucify you for getting easy and medium questions right. I'm sorry, wrong.
yeah,
If you get those wrong, there is very little hope of getting an elite score. You need to crush the easy and crush the medium like your life depends on it. And then once you get to the hard and the very hard elite, whatever you want to call them, that's when you can make mistakes. It's going to make the score go down significantly more getting one of those, an easy one wrong, than getting a very hard one right. So kill the easy ones, kill the medium ones, focus on the hard ones after your fundamentals are done, and no, everything's a-okay there. It's okay to skip hard questions. Don't skip the easy ones.
right.
Please. But anyways, KP, so I have one more question for you, and then we're going to turn it over to our users.
Right.
And for those who want to join us live, I am going to post the link right now. All you have to do is click on that link. I will bring you onto the stream so you can ask your question live to KP. So while we're waiting for people to file in, and for those of you who typed out your question, I will get to those as well. Do you have any last comments, questions that you want our users to know or understand or think about? Like anything we didn't touch on. This is sort of the open-ended floor is yours type of moment here. Go nuts.
I think we did touch upon a lot of items, but again, I would like to re-emphasize on the fact that use the resources given by GMAT Club. That was the lifeblood of my preparations. Even post my GMAT, there were a lot of experiences during the acceptance as well as for the school applications that helped me. Means I connected with a lot of my future classmates as well as a lot of potential people who are actually going to other colleges, and we made a cohort. And we are so close knit, and we're helping each other with respect to the whole process, even before our GMAT, during our GMAT, and after our GMAT. This place has helped me so much. I am trying to help it back by actually providing some feedback to people. So this is what I would say: be attentive and be actually present in these forums. look out for the resources that they're providing. Read through a lot of these things. I did a lot of my reading on understanding how the GMAT is, how the applications process is. This gives you a view of how you should be actually going ahead with it. So uh, that would be the best way to go about it. Do subscribe to whatever you're subscribing, as well as add it on to through GMAT Club as well.
We appreciate the shout out, and I think those are some really good last minute tips. Folks, no one wants to come on. No one wants to join us live. Come on, do it. We had a couple of people do it last time. It went well. They had a fun time. You can see them on the YouTube video. Come on. It's a fun time. Again, I don't bite. You've seen how we interact. That's all it is. We're not gonna hurt you. Boy, taken out of context of this video, that would look really bad. But anyways, let me go through the written questions. If somebody wants to join us, I highly encourage you to, because I think it'd be fun. KP would get a kick out of it. But let's see here. Someone's asking about your academic profile and your work experience. I mean, we covered that, so we don't.
I did not mention it. So basically, I am actually 7 years into my professional work experience. I work in consulting into technology and strategy. That is the part I covered. My academic profile is that I'm actually an engineering graduate, electronics and communication engineering. Post that, I joined my job in IT consulting.
Very nice. All right. So Amy, I think we covered this as well, but just to make sure that we cover all of our bases here, Amy asking you, please list down the resources, materials you use to prepare. And
Right.
if I have it correct, you use Magoosh, and then you use GMAT Club, and I mean you had some assistance from Target Test Prep mixed in there. Do I have that correct?
Yes, I use the free resource. Means as in like my main one was Magoosh for my basics, GMAT Club for most of my questions, my test series for the GMAT Club, as well as for my community interactions. Manhattan test series for the 5 tests that I use. I use the free marks by Kaplan, free marks by Veritas, free marks by eGMAT. Wherever I got the free marks, I used it.
And I wouldn't recommend that, by the way. It's just no, for the record, do not don't do that. In my opinion, my view has always been use the real resources, use the official guides, and use their mocks. If you run out, then maybe go to third party, but stay as official as you can would be my recommendation.
Right. So I use the OG. I completed the OG book as well. And I use the MBA.com tests, 2 of them. I did not actually subscribe to more. So these
there
were
are 3
also
others.
3 other tests, no, 6 of them, right?
Or 4. Yeah, there are 4 others.
I planned on using it for my 3rd test if I ever got there.
Yeah, so there are 6 official tests you can take. 2 are free, and then there are 4 that you can purchase. Again, showing how long it's been since I've needed to take a mock test. I forgot that it's 6, not 5. All right, Kirthi says, sir, I'm a diploma final year student. Can I write the GMAT? Oh, so I can answer this. 2 things. One, again, this is just more the dialect. For some reason, we say take, like we don't say write. Although like for law school, you write the exam, but for some reason we say we take the GMAT. Don't know why. We just linguistics. Anyone can take the GMAT anytime. The issue becomes it's good for 5 years. So if you want to go to a top tier program, they require 4 or 5 years, maybe more of experience. If you take the exam now and 5 years goes by and you still have enough experience or you're not where you need to be, you have to take the test over again. So that's where, maybe you run into some trouble. Let's see. We sort of touched on this, but want to give it a ask. How often did you take mocks?
Okay, towards the first part of this one, let's say bi-weekly. I would have had 8 weeks and I would have taken like 4 to 5 mocks altogether before my first exam. And then towards my second exam, like I told you, I had taken the GMAT Club test, so that was there. Then I had completed the 5 Manhattan mocks, and I redid the first mock again for my the first OG mock that I did back in December, and I did the second mock as well. So I took both of the mocks. So I would say the frequency was much higher because I had covered my bases. So I would do mocks basically at least on a by 2-day basis, as in on every second day I would actually go during my second this one. So overall I would have taken at least like section wise as well as completely together around 42 marks, including the GMAT Club marks.
Which, by the way, I say is too much, but teach their own apparently. That's a lot of marks. Okay, Grace says, did you set a fixed or minimum number of practice questions every day? And we touch on this as well. You said you were doing like 30 a day, right?
Yeah. But that was actually not consistent, like I told you, right? As in, like, that would be an averaged out number. But for verbal, I had this is basically for quant. So for quant, I would actually do, let's say, section wise, right? For the second one, it is like 15 per section, and I would take one section a day. So let's say 15 to 30 was the set of target that I would definitely reach for.
Okay.
Anywhere in between that number.
Shivam. Again, I'm an illiterate American. I can't pronounce names that don't look European. Is there any comprehensive list of these minor details and strategies that we can use questions-wise in DS? So you mentioned those little itty bitty things like 0 being even
Right.
or positive, or knowing your square roots and knowing that 16 can be -4 squared and 4 squared. Yeah. I mean, is there anything that you used to help you get down those little details?
So, like I mentioned, right, most of them are in my notes at this point. So I'll probably go through my notes and I'll create a post for this so that it'll be helpful for people. So what I did was I actually used to write it on my notes on the wrong question set that I'd got. So that's how my flashcards used to be. So I think I did use a general flashcard that actually was provided by GMAT Club. That was one of the items that I used for my topics. But these minor details, I shall put up probably I shall put up actually something that I have on my notes so that other people can actually add as well.
Yeah, post away. And by the way, I mean that on like GMAT Club, and you can post it.
Yeah, definitely.
Same difference. I'm impressed how Frank Evan is. Well, Grace, if you're so impressed, why don't you join us for a live stream? Come on, ask a question. Nobody wants to join. I'm starting to get offended, guys. It's starting to hurt. Now, I don't have a heart. I've been told by 3 different cardiologists I really don't have a heart. I've also been told that by thousands of different women. But where my heart would be, somewhere in here, the hollowness that is that shell, there is a tiny pain there because you guys aren't joining us. So somebody join. Come on. So this question is from, again, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce your name because I just don't want to look bad. I already know I look bad by saying that, but either way, where did you practice your verbal questions?
Okay, so verbal questions, I think reading comprehension, like I mentioned, towards the end of my preparation, and that's the one that made the most of the difference, was the R.C. Butler series. I think even you can actually provide the links to that. I think that I saw the 2022 links as well. So this one, I used to do minimum.
Give me a minute, I'll try and track it down.
Yeah, I used to do minimum three complete RCs per day to actually make sure that I read, I understand, and I actually do questions. So my RCs got sorted because of that. And in my ESR on my second exam, I had a 88% and one RC that I completely gave. So mostly the RCs I attempted, I got it right. Critical reasoning, the way I attempted it was simple. I actually went through GMAT Club as well, but I took it by topic, assumptions, boldface, things like that. So I took it by topic. GMAT Club has wide variety of resources on that. The original Mark and the MBA.com also provide you 90 questions that actually provides you the most accurate representation of how the exam would be. So I think that would also be very helpful. So I completed that 90 questions as well. That's also where I used to practice verbal from. Sentence correction, my main one was definitely GMAT Club. So again, I used to go through. My sentence correction was a bit half-assed. I only got a 50% even in my second exam. Means I still don't think I'm actually pretty good at sentence correction. So if I had taken a test one more time, I would have mostly focused on my sentence correction because I had the other two nailed down at that point.
Did you even use my critical reasoning guide?
I did. I got a 98. I did. I got a 98% in critical reasoning.
But did you use my guide?
Yes, Nightblade. I remember definitely, but I did not know it was you.
Did? All right. Yeah. There
so
we go.
Ethan, can you actually put that as well? Yep.
Sure. What about vocab? Where can I get most of the important vocabs? I think we talked about this. GMAT Club. Just click on the forum, click on the verbal. It has all of them listed there. I'll try and track down my guide that I wrote.
Also, there's a post called Importance of Error Log that I think will be pretty helpful. That's I think not sure who actually wrote that, but that was pretty helpful for me. If I can actually find it, I'll just post the link on the YouTube link as well.
Okay. So we're going to be searching for things.
Vishal
Somebody else.
got it ready for you. Mhm.
Yeah, no. So this question, I have no idea how to answer. And by the way, so somebody who was posting these horribly negative comments, you better hope to whatever you pray to. Again, I don't want to assume that anyone has any specific religious denominations. That you are not on the forum, because some of these comments are going to get you suspended in or banned by yours truly. So let me see if I can track down what your account is, and we can take care of that. But as I'm doing that, and as I'm trying to find my critical reasoning guide, I believe it's Angel. I did take Spanish, so I know how to pronounce those G's. He says he passed the GED and would like to take the GMAT exam. What can he expect the difference from the test? I mean, do you know anything about the GED? Oh, okay.
No.
So Angel, sorry, buddy, we can't help you. Neither of us are consultants, and unfortunately, neither of us took the GED. So I would Google that. Maybe you can find some overlap. But best of luck to you, really. And use GMAT Club to the best of your extent. To leverage it as much as you can, because it probably will help you. Just recently joined. Apologies, I missed some big tips on CR and SC. Hard to overcome V29. That is a very, very common problem. KP, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll take the first part. I think the CR guru is always there. He could help you out with the CR part. GMAT Ninja
Let me find
helped
that.
me.
Hang on.
GMAT Ninja helped me a lot for my sentence correction. So the first exam I took, I had a less than 10% of my sentence correction questions correct. That is basically if you have around, I think around 13 questions would be there. If you have to have less than 10%, you would have got only 2 correct. So I was that bad. From there, I had at least a 50 to 60% that actually improved so much because of Charles's videos are very helpful. He lets you know what exactly the part of this one, or the parts of speech, and makes you understand it much better. So SC, I would say just refer to Charles's questions, Charles's videos. I think there's a link for the YouTube channel for that. That's the first one. And do a lot of questions with topic based. For example, figure out what you have to actually get to the CR one, as in like assumptions, bold-faced questions. Tackle them topic-wise is what I did. That's how, and I did the streak method there as well. What I used to do was I used to take 500 level questions, assumption questions, and then I used to take 500 level, do 15 untimed until I got all 15 correct in a streak. Again, go to the next level, 600, 15 streak, and go to 700, maybe reduce it. Then do it time. That actually helped me improve my CR accuracy quite a bit. That also helped me tackle it topic wise. So my brain had much more better retention with each topic, how to do a bold-faced question, what exactly I need to look for in a bold-faced question, and things like that. So V29 is a problem that I faced as well, and I got to V37.
So there's
a bit
hope.
of an improvement. Yeah, that's quite a lot of hope.
Congratulations, KP. We're so proud of you. Are those friends of yours? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Really fast. RC Butler, that's a link. 2 questions a day. Here is my guide. By the way, you say you used it? Dude, blind review is literally 80% of the guide. What do you mean?
Yeah. So basically, the blind review, I did not do it untimed.
Okay.
I just did the time part of it. So and I have actually a year and a half out nearly with my GMAT this one. So sorry, I might not actually remember extremely well. But I did the timed part of this one. I never went untimed unless first streak. So I'm not sure I followed exactly to the point of the T, even that you did. But yes.
All right, fine. I'll take the apology. Is there a debrief on the forum? Yes, there is. I don't know where it is because, again, I don't read them before I do these. I want to be as empty-headed as everybody else. But KP, do you mind, after the video concludes, do you mind posting the debrief? And I think, or you know what, it may be in the description. So if it's on the description, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Come on. Bud something V. Check our description of the video. If it's not in there, then either myself or one of the admins on GMAT Club or KP will post it. That way you can see it. So excellent question. Neruda? Did I get it right? Yeah, yes or no? Yeah.
Okay. So I'm still maintaining a bit of a plausible deniability with respect to my schools because I've not put out that detail. But I can give you a bit of an understanding. I applied to top 3 schools in UK, and I got selected 2 of them. My preference for geography was very limited because I just wanted to look at the Europe and UK based schools. Especially with respect to Brexit coming in, that's actually a much more of a possibility for us, especially my cohort, Indian cohort, to actually have a post-employment work visa that's enabled. So that's why, and I prefer Europe because I'm a Man United fan, so I want to go there and watch football or soccer as they call it. So that's why it's a personal preference that I chose UK and I applied to the 3 colleges in UK. I will apply to 3 colleges.
And he did well nonetheless. He's living his dream. So that is all the questions. Folks, I'm bitterly disappointed that none of you wanted to join us on the live stream. I take that very personally. I also take it very personally that somebody was commenting that they thought that if you got 730 that they were LeBron James. So basically implying that they didn't believe you one bit. And again, I will make sure to track down wherever, whatever account you have with us and make sure that that is suspended in or banned. But still, guys, this should have been fun. And yes, KP, did you have a fun time?
Very much. Means I'm actually very happy to provide back to this community that helped me a lot during my tough phases as well as my happy phases of my applications journey. So means I'm very happy. I had a lot of fun reminiscing my days. I did not reminisce a lot of details with respect to you, Nightblade, but again, apologies for that. But yes, a lot of fun.
Oh, wonderful. And we're happy to have you. By the way, quickly, can you tell our users where they can reach out to you or where you'll be active so that way they can gain some insight from you that maybe they didn't gain here or didn't want to engage with you in a public setting?
Sure. So my LinkedIn is there, Manaban KP. I'm a senior consultant at Deloitte Consulting, so you can actually check me from there. That is one. I am really active on LinkedIn, and my GMAT Club username, I'll just post it so that you can actually access it from the use of this one, and you can message me there if at all anything. I'm open to messages on both, please.
Wonderful. We appreciate it. KP, it's been a blast. Wait, okay. I never took I do study books. Just wondering, is there a better way to improve? Sorry. So, Angel, I'd say watching debriefs, listening to experts, and being on. So, and by learning from experts, I mean going on GMAT Club, reading how, for example, GMAT Ninja, how he breaks down a sentence correction problem or how he breaks down a critical reasoning question is the same exact way, almost guaranteed, how a test writer is going to ask a question and how they're going to think. And that's the point. You are trying to think the way an expert thinks because that's the way that the person who wrote the question is trying to trick you. So if you can do that, if you take courses that help teach you the fundamentals and the basics and can really build that strong foundation, you'll be off to a really good start. At that point, it's refining your techniques and time management. So wish you the best of luck. And to everybody studying out there, I wish all of you the best of luck. Reach out to me as well. Again, Nightblade354. I respond to every message, all the fan mail, all the hate mail, all the questions about how to improve. I respond to it all. So
mostly fan mail, Evan. Mostly fan mail for you.
I encourage all of you to reach out to me at some point. But KP, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking what has now been almost an hour and a half of your Saturday to come and join us. Folks, please join us next week. We're going to do another debrief. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there in about a week. Same time, same place. So until then, have a great weekend.
Thanks all. Thank you, Evan.